Okay, let's dive into this. Have you ever wondered what happens when the lines between ancient myth and modern science get so blurry that we literally can't tell where one ends and the other begins? India is one of the world's absolute oldest civilizations. It's this vast land where history, spirituality, and science intersect in some incredibly fascinating ways. And scattered all across this landscape are these massive enigmas that have completely puzzled historians, archaeologists, and scientists for generations. We're talking about things rooted in centuries-old legends alongside physical locations and events that directly challenge our modern understanding of how the world works.
So welcome to this explainer on India's top 10 historical, natural, and cultural mysteries. Today we are going to strictly rely on the source material to unearth these incredible secrets. We aren't dealing with hearsay here. We're looking at what the documentation, the geography, and the historical records actually tell us. And, honestly, more importantly, we're looking at what they can't quite explain. Here is our roadmap for today. First up, Guardians of Hidden Realms. Second, Echoes of the Vanished. And third, Anomalies of Nature and Stone. Let's get into it. Part 1, Guardians of Hidden Realms, focusing on secret societies and immortal cities. Our very first mystery takes us all the way back to the Mauryan Emperor Ashoka. According to tradition, right after witnessing the absolutely horrific bloodshed of the Kalinga War, Ashoka formed a secret society known as the Nine Unknown Men. Basically, he was determined to prevent dangerous knowledge from falling into the wrong hands. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is the kind of knowledge we are actually talking about here. Legend says he entrusted 9 scholars with books containing highly advanced information on subjects ranging from microbiology and psychology to gravity, and get this, even time travel. Now, while historians generally view this as a legend, mostly due to a lack of conclusive written records, the idea that fragments of their hidden knowledge secretly influenced modern technological breakthroughs, well, that just continues to captivate people all over the globe. Staying right in that realm of the hidden, we have the legendary city of Gyanganj. Deep within the Himalayas, this city is said to be inhabited by enlightened beings and immortal masters. But, you won't find it on Google Earth. Spiritual traditions hold that Gyanganj actually exists beyond our ordinary perception. It is completely concealed from modern technology and maps. The tradition states that access is granted only to those who have achieved an exceptional, almost superhuman level of spiritual development. It's said to contain unimaginable wisdom preserved for humanity's future, really blurring the line between a symbolic spiritual concept and a literal physical hidden location. Let's move to and see how this builds into our second chapter, Echoes of the Vanished, Villages, Skeletons, and Leaders. Tracing a really fascinating thematic line across history, we're going to start in the early 19th century. Deep down in the deserts of Rajasthan, we have Kuldhara. It's often called India's most haunted ghost town, and for good reason. According to local legend, over 1,000 villagers simply vanished in a single night, leaving behind a curse that no one would ever inhabit the settlement again. To this day, no definitive evidence explains where they actually went. Then, if we jump forward to 1945, we encounter a very different but equally profound disappearance, the fate of Netaji Subhas Chandra Bose, one of India's absolute greatest freedom fighters. The disappearance of Subhas Chandra Bose remains, without a doubt, one of the most significant unsolved mysteries in modern Indian history. Looking directly at the sources, the official account states that he died in a plane crash in 1945. However, countless alternative theories have emerged over the decades. Some viewpoints argue that he survived and lived secretly for years. Other perspectives point to political conspiracies, suggesting the actual truth was intentionally concealed from the public. Despite numerous investigations and official inquiries, a lack of universally accepted evidence means this public debate is still very much alive today. Look, as an explainer, we aren't here to take a side on this, but rather to show you how history can fracture into multiple competing narratives whenever definitive proof is missing. Now imagine walking through a freezing, remote glacial mountain pass and encountering this number, hundreds. That is the sheer scale of the mystery at Roopkund Lake, sitting way up high in the Himalayas. Whenever the ice melts around this isolated lake, hundreds of human skeletons become completely visible, just scattered all around its icy shores. Honestly, it looks like a scene straight out of a horror movie. For decades, researchers desperately tried to figure out who these people were, and more importantly, how they died. Initial scientific studies found that many individuals suffered head injuries consistent with being struck by large spherical objects. So that strongly supported the theory of a catastrophic deadly hailstorm. Makes sense, right? But the mystery severely deepened once modern science stepped in. Recent DNA research showed these remains came from wildly diverse genetic backgrounds. Some were of South Asian origin, which totally makes regional sense, but others, they actually had Mediterranean origins. I mean, why on earth would people from such distant parts of the world end up dying together in such a harsh, completely remote mountain location? It completely complicates the narrative. It's like a giant puzzle that remains an incredible archaeological enigma. All right, part 3, anomalies of nature and stone, focusing on earth, sky, and architecture. Let's kick this section off with a globally recognized icon. The Taj Mahal is practically universally recognized as a stunning mausoleum built by the Mughal Emperor Shah Jahan for his wife Mumtaz Mahal. However, there is a very persistent alternative theory out there proposing that the structure was originally a Hindu temple dedicated to Lord Shiva, known as Tijo Mahalaya. Supporters of this alternative theory point to certain architectural elements that they say resemble Hindu temple designs. Conversely, mainstream historians and archaeologists firmly, categorically reject these claims, citing the abundant historical evidence that supports the Mughal origin. So the crucial point is that regardless of which side is supported by mainstream academia, the persistence of the debate itself has made the Taj Mahal one of India's most debated and controversial historical mysteries. Moving down to southern India now, inside the ancient Veerbahadra temple, we find the hanging pillar of Lepakshi. Guys, it's an absolute marvel of ancient construction. The pillar literally appears not to fully touch the ground. It is awe-inspiring to see in person. Visitors can actually pass a piece of cloth right beneath the base of the massive structure. Built centuries ago entirely without modern engineering tools, experts believe it's part of a highly sophisticated, ancient load distribution system. The sheer mathematical precision required to pull something like this off still amazes modern engineers and architects today. Next up is Magnetic Hill, set against the breathtaking landscape of Ladakh. Get this, if you leave your vehicle in neutral here, it actually seems to move uphill entirely on its own. On one hand, we have the local folklore, legends of supernatural magnetic forces and deep geological energies pulling cars up the slope. But on the other hand, scientists explain this as a really powerful optical illusion. The surrounding terrain distorts the horizon line, making a slight downhill slope look exactly like an uphill one. And this brilliantly illustrates how the landscape itself can totally trick our perception of gravity, even though many travelers leave the area absolutely completely convinced they just experienced a supernatural event. We can actually apply that exact same myth versus science framework to the small village of Jatinga. Every single year, right between September and November, birds appear to fly directly toward lights, trees, and buildings at night, often resulting in their deaths. It's a tragic phenomenon, sometimes called bird suicides. Now, local folklore speaks of supernatural forces and dark spirits causing this event. On the flip side, scientists propose that a perfect storm of specific weather conditions, dense fog, high wind patterns, and severe disorientation caused by artificial village lights is to blame. While science has definitely provided some solid behavioral clues here, the sheer eerie predictability of this annual phenomenon continues to intrigue literally everyone who tries to study it. Our final specific mystery for today takes us to the highly remote border region between India and China, the Kongka La Pass. This restricted, high-altitude area is famous for stories from locals, soldiers, and travelers describing unexplained lights, unidentified flying objects, and some highly unusual aerial activity. The intense speculation here creates a really stark contrast. On one hand, you have conspiracy theorists suggesting the existence of secret extraterrestrial bases hidden deep within the mountains. On the other, skeptics point to covert military activity or perhaps just rare atmospheric conditions. Because the region is so isolated and access is heavily restricted, it serves as a perfect blank canvas for our imaginations. Which brings us to our final section. Part 4, the value of mystery and why the unknown actually matters. From secret societies supposedly guarding the physics of time travel to vanished villages and mind-bending optical illusions high in the Himalayas, these mysteries show us exactly what happens when history and science collide. Together, these 10 stories reveal a truly fascinating blend of history, folklore, science, and spirituality that just continues to captivate people around the world. They remind us that, hey, even with all our advanced technology and modern science, we really don't have all the answers. They inspire wonder, and they constantly drive us to keep exploring. So I'm going to leave you with this final thought to chew on. In a world completely mapped by satellites, what else remains hidden? Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer today. Keep questioning, keep learning, and I'll see you in the next one.